Ladies and gentlemen, today we have a 1989 BMW 635. That is right. And this particular example has a long and storied history. We're not going to get into all the details, but I'll tell you some key facts that you need to know. Now the owner, he's in his early 20s. He actually tracks this, which is hilarious. And you're going to see why I find that so hilarious shortly when we get behind the wheel. But this is, I gotta say, it's a very classical and beautiful looking vehicle. It's traditional proportions. I feel like BMW in this era, the 80s and 90s, really had the styling down. Timeless design, beautiful proportions. And you'll notice this car is actually sitting about 3/4 of an inch lower than stock, and actually 1/4 inch lower than the M model. And that's because this had OEM, it came with hydraulic suspension in the rear, self-leveling. Super advanced stuff in the 80s, right? But of course that broke because BMW and also early technology. And the owner replaced it with some springs and dampers. And they are stiffer than stock, but still quite soft, as we're gonna find out. We got 2 keys, one for the door, one for the ignition. Gotta love this Recaro seat, by the way. Isn't that so cool? The owner's like 6'5", so he needed something lower so his head wouldn't hit the roof. Ooh. Gotta love as well that there's no buckle for the seatbelt there, so I'm gonna go over to the passenger side. And if you have a passenger, don't ask me how that works. And here we go. Start her up. There we go. So this is a 4-speed automatic, and we have sport, economy, and essentially the fixed, third gear and below. And we're gonna actually drive it in sport, but with only 3 speeds, since 4th gear in this transmission is toast. We'll see how that actually changes things. I don't think it's gonna change much. AC is not working, but we have the fan on. I'm gonna roll the windows up for your auditory pleasure so you can hear. And I'm gonna keep the fan on the lower setting so that I don't toast out here, Northern California, in the middle of August. All right, classic BMW gauge cluster, which I've grown to love. And here we go. Into drive. The car weighs around 3,500 pounds, and stock, it came with 208 horsepower out of its 3.5 liter inline 6, 220-ish pound-feet of torque. But the owner actually did not quite an ECU tune, but like a little swap. He just took out the chip with the pins and put in a new one, and now apparently it makes around 250 pound-feet of torque and 250 horsepower. Steering is recirculating ball, and it actually has this variable assist, so that at lower speeds it assists you more to lighten up the steering. At lower speeds that actually broke, so now it feels heavier at lower speeds, but it's still quite boosted and quite light. And the steering has so much play that it's like, it feels like a boat, because with a boat, when you steer it, it takes a second or two for it to start changing direction. Same thing here. I'm just like, well, we're going in a straight line right now. And then eventually it's like, okay, we'll start turning. With the lowering springs, we actually get more negative camber in the rear, but the front is still pretty static. So on the way up, I noticed quite a bit of understeer on certain corners. I can't believe he tracks this thing. It's so soft and wallowy. It's so funny. It's so funny to me. Kudos to him. I love that. Oh, the tachometer's working now. Before it was at 0 or 6. Now it's actually telling us the RPMs. Yep, definitely getting a bit of understeer. The brakes are actually pretty good. They're consistent, it's cohesive with the rest of the car. It's not super grabby. It feels that kind of luxurious, gradual, slow kind of braking force. But as you step on it, you really feel the stopping power. Power! This thing can really slow down without issue. Oh, okay, that was interesting. Getting a bit of tire lockup. Well, this is a, you know, the owner is a beginner on the track, which it's not a terrible car for him because it's so understeer prone. Of course, oversteering being far more dangerous and tricky to catch and not as intuitive as understeer. Kudos to him, man. I love when young car enthusiasts take a passion for older vehicles and know so much about them and take care of them and you know, try to give them that TLC, you know? I really appreciate that. I like that a lot. So much body motion, straight roly-poly status. When you brake, it dives really hard. Oh, all right. Yeah, can't elicit really any oversteer, but definitely understeer prone with the current setup. The seatbelt's digging into my neck because it's buckled into the passenger side. Let's readjust that. This is pretty cool, man. For a late 1980s vehicle, this is pretty cool. It's got a lot of character to it. This suspension is a little bit delicate, so I'm gonna take it nice and slow here. That's a nice hybrid between being a little bit GT-ish and also a little bit luxurious, you know, being kind of soft and wallowy in certain ways, but not terribly, you know, unmanageable. It's still only 3,500 pounds, which in the grand scheme of things in modern day isn't all that much. So the wallowiness is contained, if you will. The owner's looking at swapping, getting either a manual or even a DCT, because you can swap out, you know, a lot of different BMW components here. And he was telling me that this vehicle, in addition to its own parts, has the parts of 6 other BMW models that are not a 635, which is hilarious to me. This is a little Frankenstein. And it's just so easy to push because the limits are so low and it's so understeer prone, and because when you have a car that has such gradual and slow inputs and responses, everything becomes slow motion. So you feel more comfortable catching oversteer, catching understeer. You know, it corners better than I thought. There's a lot of body motion, but the grip... Oh, there we go. Got a little bit of rotation there. Had to really kick that out, though. I'm driving this car like an idiot. I'm not normally good, actually. You know, I'm also going downhill right now, getting less weight on the rear. Oh yeah, a lot of the steering input and response. You know, I'll talk about some cars being, you know, like the Porsche Cayman GT4, like it does exactly what you want it to do. This is the opposite. It keeps you guessing. You'll turn a little bit, you're like, why is it not turning yet? This car is just so full of character, and you gotta love that. You gotta love that. Let's do a pull. 250 horsepower, supposedly. A lot of shudder between gear shifts. yeah, under braking, there's so much play with the steering and the suspension that, you know, your steering input is just a suggestion under braking. It's gonna go whichever way it wants. It will keep you on your toes. Yeah, the transmission, you know, it's an older automatic, so they all kind of suck. And it's not really congruent with the rest of the vehicle. That's one of the scoring criteria I have on my Jubbal and Cars Driving Index. You can find the link to that down in the description. Every car I've driven and reviewed, we actually score in a few different categories, and one of them is congruence. Does the driving experience fit the rest of the character? And for the most part, the answer is yes. I mean, obviously the transmission is a little bit jerky and harsh between shifts, which you wouldn't really want from a GT, but again, this is an older automatic, so be understanding of that. And what a cool little car. I mean, I'm so happy that there are people out there who are maintaining and loving cars like this, because they're just so cool, so full of character. And I mean, this one looks great too, in my opinion. My friends, let me know what you think of this 1989 BMW 635i. Also, big thanks to Fenton Sun from the Zygreen YouTube channel for making this review possible. Go show him some love. Awesome channel, love the guy. And if you have a car that you want me to review, visit jabbalandcars.com, fill out the form, and we'll be in touch. Much love, my friends. See you in the next one.